Welcome to episode 175 of Marketing Without the Marketing. I'm your host, Michael Bosey, and I'm very glad you can join me today. It's June 1st, 2020, and I'm going to be taking a little break from this podcast, closing up shop for a little while anyway. Normally during the summer, things tend to be slow, though normally, what is that, right? We all know that things are not normal anymore. And even though last month, May 2020, was an all-time high for downloads of this podcast, I still need to stop for a little bit. And there are a few reasons for this. First among them is that, I like to write in series, 8, 10, 12, 16, 20 episodes at a time. And it's just the way that my brain works. And it's impossible to think ahead right now. When things change week to week, what do you do with that? I try to produce evergreen content as much as I can in a fast-changing world, even under normal circumstances. But let's face it, the world as we know it is going to be changed forever. And how can we even think to produce stuff right now that's going to be evergreen? Or at least that's how I feel about it. And while, the core principles of all these strategies and all these things that I talk about each week, those core principles might be sound, who knows? In the future, right? Everyone right now is distracted, depressed, including me. And who can focus on the nuances when you're worried about survival? Right now, many small businesses across the country are worried that they're going to have to close up shop for good. And it's really hard to sort of get into the nuances when all of your priorities have shifted. And lastly, just general fatigue. I've been doing this podcast for 5 full years now. I started about this time in 2015. And that's a really long grind, even for something that you love doing. So I'm going to close up shop for a while. I'm not sure how long. A few months, a few weeks, or maybe a few days if I can't stand being away, but probably a few months. And here's my plan in the meantime. Number one, I need to focus on keeping my own business afloat. This whole thing has hit me hard, just like any other small business, so I need to devote some time to that. Number two, I do want to write some new episodes. I've been meaning to do a series on how to start and run a podcast like this one. Maybe a deep dive on the nuances of email marketing, or maybe just a focus on how we as small players and solo businesses get through this whole thing right now. I did a couple episodes on that, when the lockdown first started, and who knows what the future holds. Maybe I need to devote a lot more time just to that. We'll see. I also plan to publish some exclusive episodes on Patreon so that, this whole thing isn't completely cold turkey. And I would love if you join me there. It would be a cool experiment to, just to create a new space just for you and me. I didn't want to just leave you hanging with this. As you know, I'm a strong advocate for small businesses and small players. And you could argue that this is the type of thing that you need most, right? Some camaraderie, maybe some advice on things that worked and haven't worked, people's direct experience out there. But still, I didn't want to just leave you with nothing. So look, send me a note if there's anything in particular you want me to cover, either on the Patreon feed or in the future when I get this restarted. Any topics, big or small, anything that you feel like where you're stuck and I can help you get unstuck. And not the shit that you can look up on YouTube, the real stuff, right? The nuances of getting your hands dirty with content strategy. I'm elbow deep in this stuff every day, so I know the challenges, the workarounds, the pitfalls, the small victories, and the frustrating failures. And let me share some of that with you. What are you struggling with? What's your next move through all this, right? Something new that you don't feel that you're up on. Maybe I can help share some of my hands-on experience with you, the real stuff, not the basics. As you know, if you've been listening, over the past few months, I got tired of doing the basics. The same stuff that you see out there on every single listicle blog post that's clogging the drain of the internet. And that's why I did my Content Marketing 201 series, right? Next level stuff that comes right out of the work that I do in the field, covering web, blog, email, social, and online stores. And look, this was as much to keep me interested as it was to serve you, right? To go beyond the basics of the stuff that's already out there, because I just find most of the basics to be just incredibly necessary, but boring. And look, if you're new to the show, this would be a good place to start. 20 episodes on the nuances of building a real pathway for building real trust with real people. Left a link in the show notes for you, but you can just reel back to episode 144 when I started this series. And this frustration, this is what leads to the fatigue part of this, right? I feel like we are fighting an uphill battle against shitty marketing. There's so much input, output, quick fix, hacks and tricks marketing out there, and it's utter bullshit. I can't stand the thin value crap that people are offering. There's no shortcut. There's only smarts. There's no cookie cutter. There's only being adaptable and resilient, and there's no one and done. There's only iteration until you get it right for your particular business. And there's nothing that I can tell you in this general forum that is going to be the answer for you. You have to find that out for yourself. And listen, businesses are going to close. The projections that we're seeing right now are grim. We're going to lose many, if not most, of our favorite businesses. The humans who run those businesses are in pain, and it's only getting started. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to wake up to a world of corporate options only. Chain stores and chain restaurants replacing our friends and neighbors, diminishing our options, diminishing the flavors, a race to the vanilla middle. We have to do everything we can to make sure that this doesn't happen. And I'm not sure yet what my place is in that, except for the things that I'm already doing locally here in my own neighborhood to support my fellow small businesses. Not sure what to do. Maybe it's this podcast, maybe it's something else. Been writing a lot of songs lately, making music. That's an outlet for me and another way to sort of carry this message to try to bring some positivity and some help. Me and my bandmates in the Rockmores are doing a video series called the Social Distancing Sessions to hopefully cheer people up and, again, bring a message of positivity. Been getting ready to restart my solo performing in the fall, which got waylaid with all the lockdown. And just been, in general, writing a lot of stuff that's inspired by our current situation that we find ourselves in. I've also been reading a lot, mostly nonfiction, but trying actively to listen to different points of view so that I can learn. And generally just, trying to stay sane, taking long walks with my wife, sticking to the back streets, of course, masked to protect others. So that's where I am right now. I need a break, and you probably do too. And who knows what the world is going to look like when I get back. For now, all I can do is wish you well. If I can help you in any way, please reach out, even if it's just to commiserate with another human. Because the way to get through this is to be more human, right? Even though the odds are against us. To form connections, even when that's mediated by a pixelated screen. Or to lend a hand, even when we're distanced, distracted, depressed. To celebrate each other, even when we can't hug and high five. And really to be there for each other, especially now. It's a privilege to do this for you, this podcast. I mean that sincerely. Your attention is valuable. I believe that if you're a longtime listener. So the fact that you spend any of it on me is a gift. So for now, signing off with love and respect to you, because you deserve that. Stay safe, stay well, and see you soon, I hope.